Well, this week's Safety Sense and More video and safety talk is with Power Actuated Tools, PATs. So here at Alliance Partition Systems, we use two brands. We use Hilti and we use Ramset. So just so you know, the licensing requirements require BIOSHA and WSHA and Oregon BOLI all stipulate, and actually the Corps of Engineers also stipulate that you have to have a card for each manufacturer. So this is the Ramset license. This is the Hilti license. You have several ways to acquire these. One would be to contact myself or Jeff Stevens. We're both instructors for that. You can do it at a Carpenter's Training Center, or you can go online and we can provide you the links to get your licenses via the online method. All that being said, once you do have your card, if you acquired it outside of us, we will need to have a picture copy of it so we can load it in your file. So that's the licensing. A couple things I wanted to go over. First of all is storage. Storage is the tool is kept in its case when it's not in use. If you open up the case, you notice the gun's here, the cleaning kit is here. The one thing this case has as well is the Hilti lubricant. Always use the Hilti brand lubricant with either the Ramset or Hilti guns. Do not use WD-40. Although it works really well, it also creates carbon and soot, which clogs up the guns faster. One thing that I noticed that's missing in this box is the instruction book. The instruction book has to be with each tool. So if there's one missing, contact Jimmy or ourselves and we'll make sure that we get the book that needs to be in that box for you. So that is a DX5. So let's talk about this tool real quick. It uses a 27 caliber load strip. This one also has the magazine, so you can put 10 pins in it. The load strip has 10 loads of gunpowder. You can go bang, bang, bang. The one thing is always look at your specifications and make sure how often you have to do the pins. So if it calls out 16 inches on center, you don't need to put a pin every foot. You got to do it every 16 inches, roughly. Don't get out of measuring tape. We're all carpenters. We all have good eyes. But always keep the tool in the case when not in use. If you're not using it anymore, you're done with what you're doing, it goes back in the gang box lid shut. The other thing are the gas cartridges for the gas style. These have to stay in the gang box as well. Or your Hilti loads. Keep them in the boxes, not scattered all over the place. Here again, these have to be inside the gang box. The gang box lid has to be shut during the day when no one's in there. Doesn't necessarily have to be locked. Keep these things locked up and in neat order, please. Lastly is pins. We get pins in this size box, but we also get pins in boxes like this. Here again, keep them organized, keep them in their boxes while they're in the gang box. I wanted to discuss since this one was missing a manual, let's open up this one. This is a DX2. This is like the old Hilti 35, DX35. It's a single feed. So how do we load these things? First of all, we put the pin in it and we put the strip in it and you bring it up to the first thing after it's been cocked. You'll see that the first powder charge is laying right in front of the chamber. You always use a shotgun straight up and straight down, perpendicular to your work surface. Push it down, keeping your arms flexed, pull the trigger, fires the pin. You want to wear gloves, you always want to keep your arms flexed. If you don't, the recoil will make your arms get sore. You also always have to wear gloves. There's a small amount of lead that is produced every time you fire one of these things. We don't want that lead contamination getting into you. As you will notice, the user's guide is with this particular tool. It matches the tool. It says DX2. This is a DX2. And there's also a sheet that explains loads and strips for this tool. So that's in here. Again, the cleaning kit is in here. And then lastly is the damper. If you can use this, how this fits is over the nose cone of the gun. You always are putting this stuff on when there's no load in here because you don't want to have your hand in front of something where it could possibly shoot you. But what this is a stabilizer, so when you push it, it keeps the gun perpendicular. Use it if you can. Not every place has the room for you to use a stabilizer. But keep it, when it's not in use, keep it in the box along with the tool. Again, in this kit, it has the extra horseshoe clips because those do wear out. If you ever need a class on or learn how to tear these things down and clean them, we can do that in another video. Again, Hilti spray. This is the lubricant intended for powder actuated tools. That is what you want to use. Don't let anybody tell you WD-40 is just as good. It clogs them up. It makes the tools get dirty faster. And then lastly, I believe we have, yes we do, a GX. GX is a gas tool. These use a battery and a gas cartridge. The gas cartridge inserts in here. When not in use, it's not a bad idea to pull that gas cartridge out, but you don't have to necessarily. These are nice, and especially in occupied spaces, because you can bang through and they're fairly quiet compared to the ones that use gunpowder. This is a GX 125. Technically, you do not need to be licensed to use a gas or electric powered pin gun or shotgun. But we do, in the Hilti licensing, provide this as one of the tools that you're certed on as well. What do we do with empty powder strips? This is an empty powder strip. You see no unexploded charges. So what can I use this for? Nothing. This can go directly into the garbage. Okay. What we do with these on a job site though is we have these type of buckets. This one here was made up quite a while ago. We're getting them repainted, getting them ready to go. They also have the HAZCOM strip on the back. We make these up on a sticker, put them on the bucket. That meets all the requirements. The nice thing about these buckets is the lid flips up, throw the charge in, shut it. Keep these shut, keep these in your gang box. Once they're full, let Jimmy know, let Dale know, let Edgar know, let Jeff know, let myself know. We'll come with a cardboard box, empty these out, or you can empty them out, get them back to the shop, keep your bucket on site. We want this bucket with every framing crew. We want them to have a bucket by them. None of our powder loads strips are going to end up on the floor, gentlemen, or in the track. Once done, they go in here. Not in your pouch, not anywhere else. They go in here, okay? Can we be clear on that? There's a lot of misinformation about what you get fined. It doesn't matter. The fine doesn't. We do stuff the correct way 100% of the time. Want to talk here on the board real quick on, lastly is signage. We've developed a system. Every gang box that goes out of any shop has a sleeve in it. It has all your safety signages that you will need. So for instance, for powder actuated tools, you want to have these posted, say if you're on a floor, maybe where you come off the stairs, the elevator, and they're supposed to be within 50 feet of the work area, so you may have to have a few scattered around. When you're done with the floor using the shotgun, take the sign down and take it along with you. We don't want to leave these out there. I mean, we have plenty of them, but why waste? So anyhow, be looking for these in your gang box. Every gang box coming out in the field nowadays should have a first aid kit and one of these sign sleeves in it, by the way. So let's talk about pin placement. Number one is PT, post-tension cables. These are ran through the concrete. Sometimes they mark them out, sometimes they don't. As long as we're using 1-inch pins, we should be okay. But if you're on a post-tension cable reinforced concrete job, this is one thing that we're going to want to talk about before you do any firing of pins, either upward or downward, because we have to kind of know where the location of those cables are so we don't damage them. Shotguns shouldn't damage them, but if we do have post-tension cables, known as PT cables, We do not want to use rotor hammers until we have good discussions on that for like setting door jambs. The pin placement on this type of a slab will go into the concrete going up in one of the bottom flutes. Sometimes post tension has pan decking, sometimes it doesn't. It depends if they were manufactured off-site at a concrete place where they post tension them and then they bring them out and they set the slabs as units, or if it was poured on site. So we don't know that necessarily. The other thing is when you have pan decking, which this signifies, if you see here, we have no concrete on top, we do not shoot into pan decking. We're going to screw that track to it or whatever. Now, how do I know if there's no concrete there or not? This involves a little bit of research on your part prior to starting what you're going to do. You're going to be told you need to go do this or go do that. You're going to want to go above you to the floor above and see what's up there. You're also going to want to go to the floor below and see if there's anything going on down there. One thing in concrete slabs, they're pour circles of styrofoam. They pour the concrete around it. Those are plugs to be knocked out to run plumbing, electrical, that kind of stuff through. Sometimes when they finish the concrete, it looks like it's concrete. But if you shoot a pin there and it happens, it'll go right through the foam, end up on the floor below. So here again, you always want to make people around you aware. The same as if you're shooting to a wall. Is there anybody on the back side of that wall prior to shooting? Remember, these things are guns. They aren't shooting a bullet at 400 feet per second, but they do push a pin out that can ricochet and travel quite ways. And I actually know of a guy who had a pin bounce off a steel column on a job site, hit him right in the chest, and missed his aorta by about a ½ an inch. If it hit his aorta, it probably would have killed him. So always be aware who's around you when you're shooting these things. Let's talk about pin placement to a steel I-beam. So with steel pins, you can be within a ½ an inch, but you always want to make sure it's at least 3/16 of an inch or thicker steel. If you're on a concrete slab where there's a hard edge, you want to always hold that pin back 3 inches. In Hilti, it says 2 3/4. But the standard with all pins, with all other manufacturers, says 3 inches. And I'll go with the 3-inch thing. And here's why, gentlemen, is because if you get any closer than this, what happens when you shoot a pin into concrete, here's your concrete surface. As the pin goes in, it creates a teardrop looking thing where it upsets the cement. And this all of a sudden clumps around the pin. So if you're too close, what this does is forces this as a break, and then this will fall off. So we don't want to do that. So if you stay within 3 inches or farther back, you won't get this problem. Very important. One solution is if you're laying down track and you're right along an edge, and say it's 2.5 inch track and you can't get the 3 inch, every time place along that track where you're going to shoot a pin, if you're looking down at the track, snip a 1-inch tab, fold it over, and put the pin there. Nice thing about that is when you sheetrock it, it covers it. And then you only have about 3/8 of an inch hanging out. There's only a very few places where that's not going to fly, because baseboard to cover that. That's a workaround. Always double check with your foreman to make sure the specifics on your job site. But this is a real good workaround to get you that 3-inch of clearance. Lastly, we'll talk about is blocks. So this can be CMU. This can be brick. So brick is a hard, brittle surface. You never shoot into brick. The primary joint that you want to hit when you're shooting a pin is a horizontal mortar joint. And the reason is horizontal mortar joints like this are under what's called compression. So when you shoot the pin in, it's actually going to hold there. If you don't have that opportunity, you can shoot in a vertical, but they aren't as tough as a horizontal. So always try to hit the horizontal joint. This will work, but it's not the best option. Let's make that clear. If this is CMU, concrete masonry unit, if you're really good and you have a white load or a green load, you can find the center of that block where there is a web in the middle of it. You can shoot there with a light load. The other thing, though, you can do is take a pin and pound it in with a hammer. I use cement nails, personally, if I have to do that. But that's that. So the best thing, though, is always shoot into the mortar joints. Never shoot into CMU. Never shoot into brick. And then I think I already covered the safety stuff about above and below floors. PPE, let's talk about PPE. Ears, ear protection, hearing protection. These things kick off over 100 decibels every time you shoot them. The gunpowder ones do. Got to have hearing protection, got to have eye protection, hard hat, gloves. And right now, I'm not wearing my mask because I'm doing the video for you and we're maintaining more than 6 feet of distance between me and the camera person. But remember, all APS sites right now are mandatory masks. So you got to wear your COVID mask as well. Going over my notes here. Do I need to yell fire when I pull the trigger? Technically, no. It depends on where you're at. I'll leave that to your judgment. The thing is you may, if there's people, other trades working close to you, say, hey, I'm going to be shooting, so it doesn't really spook them. If you're in an occupied building, it never hurts to let occupants in another office that's real near you or something know what's going on. This day and age, they hear gunshots. This has actually happened where the cops show up. They heard gunshots. Then they got, it's a construction site, and they're using a Hilti or a Ramset to shoot down the tool, the stuff. So why do we use Hilti and Ramset? Hilti is our go-to tool on most job sites, but we have a lot of job sites that require Buy America, Buy American. Hilti does not meet the qualifications to be used on those job sites. Thusly, we use Ramset. Ramset guns, I do like the big ones. They're heavy-duty ones. They shoot a large pin. They're fairly quiet compared to a Hilti. They don't have as much recoil as a Hilti shotgun. So it's personal preference. The other thing is Ramset for shooting, they have the Viper for shooting up wires and stuff. So say you're building a suspended ceiling or whatever and you need to shoot wires above, the Ramset Viper is a much better tool. Otherwise you have to use the Hilti stick with the DX2 that has like a brake lever for a bicycle on it. You go up, you push the lever, that shoots it. The Ramset, you just run it up like that, bang it, and it shoots the wire. I think that pretty much is the short version and covers most everything that you would have to do and know to use these correctly. I know you guys all use these things day in and day out as carpenters, and just be aware that we have to be very careful on where our empty loads end, how we store our stuff. Gang box lids are always closed. If you have any questions, reach out to Jeff, myself. We're glad to answer them. If you need your Hilti card, if you need your Ramset card, we'll get that squared away too. Either you can do it online, come in and see us, we can show up on the job site. We'll get her done. That's what we're all about here at APS, is getting her done. The safe and sane way, but also we got to remember production, and they all go hand in hand. Thank you. Have a great day.